Also, everyone, the leaders, there where there is an identity of negative value nature progression that propagated were self-valued roles with it because of how the suburbs were tactically denatured, while the breaching method was sustained against the Native Americans, and as was against our founders and all the other colonists, sickly distinctly. And still, they still have, right through our schools artistically, from off campuses influences, through adults' influences and kids, inclusion for other motivations, blaming the slavery, the real causes of it, on other things other than self, keeping everyone not knowing how slavery was entrenched in northern colonies and southern colonies before our founding parents were born. The suburbs have been designed tactically denatured to cause negative value nature progressions, acts, natures to keep self value, to propagate self value roles. Self valuing only means to cause positive value nature progressions, acts, and natures if there were to be collusions with criminal insidiousness nature, and as criminal insidiousness natures of positive treatments that were simultaneously collusions with negative treatments and with identity treatments. And rather than have that understood, that's why and how they put sickly distinctly the slavery of our founders from the slavery of everyone else involved with the black/white themed parts of it that are overtly criminally foreign influenced, slash simultaneously insidiously. Now, this is one of the reasons that everyone agrees to call things racism and ism rather than and using that to prevent truth and the nature of truth from being used to speak, where only the nature of truth that is not denying the slave's exceptions, not valuing the slave's exceptions denied, are going to be denied. And because nature is one identity, nature's complete identity, which is only discernible through the study of nature's nature and the value of that. See, we only have an extent, we only have the littlest piece, the smallest finite piece that we have complete possession of that as our identity that we know is true always, not denying the slightest exception. We know to an extent the past was true always, not denying exception. We know right now active. To an extent, we know what is real, not denying the slightest exception. And we know that is, to an extent, we know what is to come. And we know there, to an extent, there is an extent greater than that. We know there's an extent greater what is active, and we know there is one that there is an extent greater that is, but it is not ourselves. But again, we know it is too. To an extent, it is ourselves. Wherever the smallest piece of the identity of the hyper simultaneous is, its complete identity of relationship to itself is an only perfectly increasing identity of value progression. And the value of that is only increasing too simultaneously, distinctly, non distinctly, and hyper simultaneously. The hyper invisible, but still discernible, is so. So modern countries are in an identity of negative value nature progression that a semi-ancient trap knew colonization's members individually grouped together could use them remotely because in defenses of themselves as fact treatment nature. They blamed other things, others, or selves for the real causes of negative value nature progressions, acts, and natures at all locations, areas, and states. Acts like predicate acts, natures like criminal insidiousness natures, wrongdoers, wrongdoing itself. And so they effectively propagated roles, needs, styles, and logic in nature, you know, where they knew that nature would continue to demonstrate that, while they knew too nature would continue to demonstrate. Well, wow, there's a breaching method, a part of American history, isn't there? There's a breaching method, a part of each modern country's history, but it has been left out. See, this forwards the science's members as a certain type of victim. Apart from how the this is means each age in nature, and then where it's grouped, and the campuses of including the branches of government, individually grouped and together, including all exceptions, exception nature tied to them. And that includes the logic and the names uses and the treatment, time treatment, and nature uses of fact, treatment, nature, and names of people A through Z. And this is also relevant to where and to how people use the short words right regarding if people try to use truths that are true always, not denying the slightest exception, not valuing the slightest exception denied, or used to deny exception nature's complete course. Because the identity that is really true always, not denying the slightest sequence. In other words, that's necessary for a method in nature of contemplation. That prayer was revealed by pantheism demonstrably to teach as a scientific method, as a scientific form, as a nature of method of contemplation. There are 5 distinct identities of order, where there is one order that is hyper invisible but still discernible. To discern it, we have to discern how it can be hyper. It can be positive to all 5 identities of its order simultaneously or not. And if and when it is not, it is criminal insidiousness nature. Why and how it is not, per nature's method by law. English was revealed to teach where and how the sciences share an identity and where they appear not to share an identity. There exists the phenomenon of a special difference, and that keeps it in demonstration of the same thing, while simultaneously being in demonstration of what exception nature is about. First thing you have to understand is it is one identity of volume, its identity of relationship to itself, and the value of that which generated matter. Now it has an identity of relationship to itself, distinct to and while as and from matter, than it does while it is not juxtaposed with matter. And then it does where and how it is coming in its active state in halfway out of us and still in us. English was revealed to teach this. It is more probable and is increasingly demonstrable that and how it is more probable that the heaven and hell were scientific values of the science of pantheism, which is also a science where and how that teaches about how where and how isms become value to nature, where physical delusions, nature delusions, or identity delusions are manifest. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a lawyer. See, they have the gates to each of the industries involved with, for example, security at all locations. Each of the sciences are criminally foreign influence, delusions wrought, and subjects treatments and methods of getting away with this that offensively prevent people calm means to defend themselves verbally, preemptively, because they are shown that how this has already happened, how they need to hide things from the past, each age of each family, per them, per what's actually recorded. And the word family is relative because the method uses each spot more and more, increasing it in a way that with fact, nature oriented predicate acts, And it knew that more and more effectively the spots next to it would also be victims. And everyone would react wrong and or their they attached everyone to changed words, fake words. This relative where and how it is hyper evident. The revelations come from understanding where and how the course of black pupils and whites of eyes abridged, has other told, and or has the causes of it blamed on other things, others and or selves. And there are exact timed uses of that. Per overt criminal enterprises, private ones, insidiousness of people A through Z. You guys made positive and negative treatments, identity treatments. So you guys can't, no one can invent being the identity that is invisible but still discernible. That is what really came true first, before our founders were even born. We know that the suburbs were designed with slavery entrenched North and South America. We know that other is taught artistically through our schools too. So it's not who said it and who said what and why they said it, because other is being communicated. See, there are non-verbal communications, verbal communications, and hyper communications are simultaneously increasingly valued. So even if the person doesn't speak, things are communicated. This is also relevant where and how we're forced to speak through others. So increasingly, um, also relevant are narratives by privacy. For example, regarding online treatments and readings of the law, originally instilled where and how they backed types of lawyers and types of subject treatments, where and how they have them criminally foreign influence fake with roles with this, with what already painted themselves into corners. Overt criminal enterprises, private ones, interbranch, insidiousness, people A through Z know, or they casually changed words. And they exploit people at each age of campus. Roles with this without realizing it, and they exploit it at other locations. So syntactically makes it look like you knew people you didn't. A whole bunch of people tied to a Ray Reynolds had others speak for him. He's recorded, confessed, demonstrated, confirmed, involved with a Mike Handoff and other people, and Eric Jensen, for example. As my sources, there are people interstates. I'm not a journalist, but these people keep increasingly get brought up by wire crime acts and methods. People are tending passions and emotions into branch. They switch names, forge names. They've been stacking illusions in databases uh, into branch too, as people who have roles with doing that at other locations. And where relevant is criminally forward influence uses consciously of everyone speaking through others, specifically to keep self-valued the identities of the branches, self-valued roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones in themselves having been since before founding, forcing individuals to ignore finite details and put other illusions there. Or they just change your words anyway. All investigators, their natures of it, their methods of it, used simultaneously, preemptively, actively, and increasingly to hide what came before that and what they know is to come that they can't afford. Relevant to where and how they know they cannot afford any individual who's going to use that nature of truth that is true always, not denying the slightest exception, not valuing the slightest, and trying to use what is true always from the past, before the word of the finite now. There was a breaching method, a fact human nature slavery method, sickly distinctly against every Native American, against every difference between the Native Americans. And that was sustained because they were assigning human difference and they were assigning the causes of that. Those assignments changed from the natural assignments. They were assigning everyone blaming other roles, needs, natures to blame other things, others themselves, even when correctly. wrongly exactly the way it needed, like blaming it on the white man, leaving out how, you know, the internet criminally foreign influenced countries individually grouped and together as the only identity is law that can speak about criminal insidiousness natures, criminal insidiousness, the real causes, and needs to counter the worst causes and uses of criminal insidiousness at all locations, areas, and states, criminal enterprises, plural, totally distinct, the worst causes, the worst uses of totally different ones. No, they were blaming that on other things, others, or selves, exactly where the breaching method was. So now who's gonna stand for us? Oh, sanctions, someone's gonna yell out. You know, those databases. We are grossly unprepared for anything. We have all fake. We have criminally foreign influenced. All kinds of they painted themselves in all kinds of cases. They've been using the prisons, pretending they're about corrections, trying to correct people who committed crimes. They're forcing their worst patients and criminals to hide lies with them because they were in with crimes with them before they got caught. Like people at Sandy Hook, Newtown, they should fear God to hide and plot. I rap a lot. Get the names of the courts too. They can't decide. They can't solve the issues. They have roles with it. That's what's really recorded. That's why they're pretending passions and emotions so strong against the people they say that are causing others to go crazy. But then those people not. And then when they make those exceptions, they're using that. They're hiding. They're using the court's roles with overt criminal enterprises, private ones, involved with little kids' clean campuses. Also with the vertical and horizontal stacking predicate acts roles, identity theft, fraud, slander against everyone roles. That's one of the things that was sickly distinctly against our founders, sickly distinctly against Native Americans, A through Z, individually grouped and together, sickly distinctly against our founders, same way, individually grouped and together. You have to understand how our founders had to counter extort the other founders, let alone everyone else. Still rolls with that entrenched system. And there are all kinds of rules and rules that you follow them or entertain them. Your criminally foreign influence nature style of logic that can't defend itself and afford anyone to use short words that are led by what is true always, not the nice slash sequence, let alone to allow that to protract. CT must crack. Get on your back, CT. Stand down and fall. The seed is there, right there. Believe. That's all. All of the pretty snow, Ukraine. All of the way it goes, okay. Ukraine, Ukraine. Onward with rivers, onward with streams, onward with rivers. Ukraine lives in dreams. Ukraine, Ukraine lives in dreams. So we could monetize this and hand it to help for the other countries. But to help, all the money will go. I mean, Ukraine, but with a plan that the whole world's going to help each other. We're going to have to stay reliant for a number of years upon mass farming. And we can't just switch from that for a whole bunch of reasons. And one of the things with the security threats and stability, where stability needs to real needs, those truths are used for lies. It's not just, truths are used to screen lies that are not just lies. They're whole predicate acts methods roles. Slavery is a predicate acts delivery system method slash hyper predicate acts delivery system method, as we know it was. If we use what is true always, not denying the slice sequence. shift, not denying the slightest finite detail. Forbid the significance, that not deny the significance of what's simultaneously recorded and or relevant how what it takes syntactically. If someone's going to try to deny what's simultaneous, people can't deny that the suburbs